Some vehicle modifications lie in a gray area, technically unlawful, often discouraged, yet capable of unlocking performance most drivers never witness. Forget what your dealership told you. These aren't in your manual. They won't come up in your routine maintenance conversation. But to those who live for throttle response, sharper torque curves, and engine soundtracks that speak louder than words, these forbidden tweaks are gospel. We're diving into 10 of the most controversial, underground, and results-driven modifications that car lovers swear by despite their legal baggage. And by the time we reach the last one, you'll understand why law enforcement actively trains to spot it from a mile away. Mod number 10. Catalytic converter delete. Loud legal trouble with legit power gains on paper. Deleting your catalytic converter is illegal across all 50 U.S. states. But beneath that legal red tape is one undeniable truth: it works. Removing this emissions component significantly boosts exhaust efficiency and, in turn, horsepower. Catalytic converters operate by forcing exhaust through metal-coated honeycomb filters. These filters reduce harmful gases but also restrict exhaust flow. That resistance creates back pressure, especially problematic at high RPMs. Replacing it with a straight pipe allows the engine to exhale freely, unleashing 10 to 20 additional perceive. Unleashing 10 to 20 additional perceive. That is a long-lasting inquisitive. That resistance creates by releasing calor. That a resistance creates respite. Remise, remaze it, remis presides. Egesting my rebisits. 8. With a beloved, priet, my relive. Guy, by my lala. Like we ally uncollide allied. We unsee I love it psychosis it. Sits it we secretly to I sila dis kick it to kai get to coats it to it's black be create capad cadet about to sky and horsepower depending on the build. For turbocharged platforms, this change is even more effective. With less pressure pushing against the turbo, spool times improve and boost retention increases. Your car feels alive in a way it never has before. But this is a heavy caveat. The risks are steep. Violating the Clean Air Act can bring federal penalties up to $2,500. Smog inspections become impossible to pass. And many garages won't touch modified vehicles. Insurance adjusters, if they find out, may decline claims outright. There's also the environmental side. Catalytic converters reduce up to 90% of nitrogen oxides, hydrocarbons, and carbon monoxide. Removing them means those pollutants are released raw into the atmosphere. Enthusiasts argue truck-only vehicles should be exempt. Opponents call it selfish pollution. One thing is clear: this mod forces drivers to choose between conscience and combustion. Mod number 9. ECU tuning for emissions. Defeat power from the code, no wrench required. Just a laptop, some software, and someone who knows how to dance with one south and O south. Flashing your car's engine control unit ECU to bypass emissions protocols is increasingly common and highly illegal. Modern engines are tuned by factories to meet environmental benchmarks, not to deliver max output. Conservative fuel mapping, retarded ignition timing, and restrictive air-fuel ratios often leave dozens of untapped horsepower on the table. A skilled tuner can optimize these settings for raw performance by disabling systems like exhaust gas recirculation, EGR, or secondary oxygen sensors. Your engine operates cleaner, faster, and often more efficiently under full load. Gains of 20 to 50 horsepower aren't uncommon, and throttle response improves instantly. But this digital freedom comes with serious consequences. Any tampering with emission controls violates federal law. Some states never check SUs beyond OBD2 fault codes, while others deploy rolling road emissions tests that detect tampering. California is especially aggressive. The state's Air Resources Board regularly fines tuning shops and has even sued major aftermarket brands, despite the heat. Tuners claim properly calibrated engines run better cooler temperatures, reduced knock, and fewer long-term issues like carbon buildup. The key is expertise. A botched reflash can grenade your powertrain in minutes. Done correctly, it elevates even a stock vehicle into an entirely new driving experience. Professional dyno tuning runs from $500 to $2,000. Online map downloads exist, but quality varies wildly, and with new detection methods like tamper-evident ECU seals and cloud-based diagnostic scans, the game between engineers and regulators is intensifying. Mod number 8. Cold air intake with sensor recalibration, legal or loophole. Cold air intakes are often one of the first performance upgrades beginners go for. Swapping the factory intake for a performance version seems harmless. But when the upgrade includes modifying the mass airflow MAF sensor readings, that's where legality becomes blurry. These intakes draw air from cooler zones outside the engine bay. Denser oxygen means better combustion. Combined with wider tubing and high-flow filters, they increase airflow by as much as 30%. That means stronger throttle response and potentially 10 to 25 more horsepower, especially when paired with a tune. The trouble begins when installing them alters the MAF sensor's calibration. This sensor tells the ECU how much air enters the engine. Any change here affects fuel delivery and emissions. Even slight sensor relocation or aftermarket tuning qualifies as tampering under federal TWAL. Manufacturers label most of these kits for off-road use only. It's their legal shield. But everyone knows that off-road is often just a wink. And while few officers will pop your hood looking for intake tubing, some states are tightening inspections to include underhood visuals. When designed poorly, aftermarket intakes can introduce turbulence or heat soak, actually hurting performance. Done right, with proper tuning and airflow smoothing, the benefits are impressive. Just know this mod, like so many others, dances between better driving and crossing regulatory lines. Mod number 7. Resonator and muffler delete when loud gets. Louder. This is the upgrade that announces itself before it even arrives. Removing mufflers and resonators can drastically change how a car sounds and breathes. For many, that's the entire point. A raw exhaust note, sharper growl, and fewer restrictions on flow can be thrilling. But communities, law enforcement, and environmentalists often disagree. Standard exhaust setups use resonators to cancel specific sound frequencies and mufflers to reduce overall volume. While effective, they introduce considerable back pressure. Removing them via straight pipe setups can free up 5 to 15 horsepower, particularly on performance engines. Forced induction builds benefit most. Reduced exhaust resistance allows for faster boost and more consistent output. But the noises, especially without proper tuning, can border on unbearable at highway speeds. This mod's legality depends entirely on where you live. Some states have no noise restrictions. Others issue tickets at anything over 95 decibels. In California, the limit is 80 decibels, and fines can exceed $1,000. Enforcement is rising, especially with noise complaints skyrocketing in urban zones. Then, there's social blowback. Loud exhausts can disturb neighborhoods and attract unwanted attention. Some cities have banned car meets altogether due to persistent sound violations. Amateur installs also tend to create cabin drone at cruising speeds, ruining daily drivability. Professionally fabricated systems cost $300 to $800 and must be carefully designed to balance performance, sound quality, and legal compliance. Mod number 6. Return-style fuel systems. More power, less compliance almost invisible to the untrained eye. Return-style fuel systems are one of the stealthiest modifications available. They solve real performance problems, particularly for heavily modified vehicles, but they also quietly sidestep emissions. Recovery protocols. Most modern cars use returnless systems to maintain constant fuel pressure inside the tank. A cleaner system that meets evaporative emission rules by reducing vapor release. However, under intense load or with added power mods, these setups can struggle to deliver consistent fuel volume. Aftermarket return-style systems use external regulators and return lines that vent excess fuel back to the tank. The benefit: unwavering pressure even at high RPM, reducing lean conditions, knock or misfires, especially in turbocharged builds. The downside is regulatory. These systems often bypass vapor containment systems, releasing fumes directly into the atmosphere. That alone constitutes a violation of the Clean Air Act. However, because the components are subtle and often hidden beneath body panels, rarely noticed unless someone knows exactly what to inspect, installation isn't. For beginners, mistakes here can cause leaks, fire hazards, or sudden fuel starvation. That's why professional setups from brands like Aeromotive typically start at $500 and climb past $1,200 depending on the application. For serious track enthusiasts, the trade-off is worth it. But for anyone driving daily or under emissions scrutiny, the risks may outweigh the gains. Mod number 5, air suspension conversion. Handling mastery with hidden risk. Converting your standard suspension to a custom airbag system isn't just about slamming your car to the pavement. It's a high-tech reimagining of ride dynamics. One that offers unprecedented control over comfort, clearance, and cornering, but often at the expense of federal and state safety compliance. From the factory, automakers design suspensions to walk a tightrope between comfort, predictability, and government regulation. That means compromises. Air suspension swaps throw those compromises out the window. With electronic dampers, variable spring rates, and programmable ride heights, drivers can fine-tune settings for parking lots, highways, or racetracks, sometimes all within seconds. When properly installed, these systems improve traction, reduce body roll, and even enhance fuel economy by improving aerodynamics at high speeds. They also allow aggressive alignment settings that wouldn't be possible with fixed coilovers or factory setups. But here's the catch. Most jurisdictions don't allow alterations that adjust ride height beyond approved parameters. That means even if your system is safer, smarter, or smoother, might be unlawful. States with strict inspection protocols often flag vehicles with visible tank reservoirs or unusual stance geometry. Federal safety standards may also be violated, depending on how the suspension changes affects structural dynamics. Installation is no small feat. Done poorly, air suspensions can fail catastrophically. Leaks, blown bags, and compressor malfunctions can cause instability at high speeds or complete suspension collapse. Reliable setups from top brands like Airlift or AccuAir start around $4,000 and can exceed $8,000 with electronic controls. To insurance companies, any post-factory suspension upgrade can void policies. In the event of an accident, that could mean denied claims even if the suspension wasn't the cause. Still, for those chasing a balance between comfort and handling, few mods offer as much impact. Mod number 4, variable valve timing elimination. Simple hardware, complex consequences. Variable valve timing (VVT) systems represent one of the most sophisticated advancements in engine technology. They dynamically alter camshaft timing to optimize power and emissions across different RPM ranges, disabling or removing them. That's a controversial move, but one that some racers claim is essential to squeeze out every ounce of performance, especially At high revs, the logic is simple. VVT adds complexity, weight, and limitations to how aggressively camshafts can be tuned. By removing the system entirely and replacing it with fixed cam gears or aggressive profiles, builders can push red lines higher and maintain optimal lift duration for peak power. Race cars benefit enormously. Engines designed for top-end operation don't need mid-range torque modulation or emissions-friendly idle smoothness. They need consistency, reliability, and raw top-end performance. Without VVT, there's no mechanical actuator to fail, and tuning becomes more predictable. However, VVT systems dramatically reduce pollutants like hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides, particularly during cold starts and low-load cruising. Removing them pushes emissions beyond federal limits, making this mod an automatic legal violation under the Clean Air Act. Unlike some mods, this one also affects fuel consumption, often negatively since valve overlap can no longer adjust based on driving conditions. There's also a risk-reward balance. Without advanced tuning and supporting mods like high-flow heads and adjustable fuel delivery, this change can hurt drivability, stall idle control, and make the engine feel flat off boost or outside the power band. From a detection standpoint, VVT removal can be hard to spot unless you're at a dealership, in for service, or subject to an emissions test. Most manufacturers also void warranties when they detect changes to timing systems, even if damage appears unrelated. For serious racers or builders working on dedicated track cars, ditching VVT unlocks potential. But for daily drivers, it's a high-risk path with little benefit unless backed by full engine upgrades. Mod number 3, electronic bypass exhaust systems, silence when needed, power when wanted. Imagine a car that's quiet during morning commutes, but turns into a beast with the press of a button. That's what electronic exhaust bypass systems offer dual personality through smart engineering. On the surface, this seems like the perfect solution to every legal and social dilemma. But don't let the convenience fool you. These setups are on law enforcement's radar for a reason. Bypass systems use electronically actuated valves too. Switch between full muffler routing and straight through exhaust. At idle or under light load, the valves remain shut, routing sound through resonators. But under wide open throttle or whenever you want, you can open the gates and let the engine breathe. Unrestricted, the gains are impressive. Reduced back pressure improves throttle response and allows turbochargers to build boost faster. Some vehicles see 20 to 30 horsepower gains in open mode with dramatically improved acoustics. However, because these systems exist to sidestep sound ordinances, many regions ban them outright. Laws in several states specifically prohibit any device that allows on-demand noise increase. The argument is simple. If your vehicle exceeds decibel limits with the valve open, it's a legal 11 if it passes testing with them closed. From a technical perspective, these mods require precise integration with exhaust layout, wiring harnesses, and sometimes ECU programming. Quality systems from brands like Kosa and Borla start at $2,500 and can climb to $5,000 with full remote control. Cheaper versions risk valve failure, drone, and improper sealing. Socially, these systems fuel debates about noise pollution and personal responsibility. Residents complain of sudden noise spikes. Officers often can't tell if your car is legal until it's already disturbed someone, and once you've been reported. The plausible deniability these systems provide might not save you from a ticket. Still, the allure remains. Being able to go full throttle in open mode while switching to stealth in seconds is an irresistible upgrade for many speed enthusiasts, especially those who live in areas with inconsistent enforcement. Mod number 2. Manual gearbox swaps in automatic hone. Models control at a cost. Some vehicles never come with a stick shift. Manufacturers often phase them out in favor of smoother, faster shifting automatics. But for purists, That's unacceptable. Swapping out an automatic for a manual transmission transforms not only how a car drives, but how it feels. The connection between man and machine becomes visceral. Yet this is one of the most difficult, expensive, and legally complex conversions imaginable. Swapping a slush box for a clutch pedal and gated gearbox isn't as simple as bolting on new parts. It requires altering the transmission tunnel, adding pedal assemblies, swapping engine control modules, reprogramming security features, and adapting wiring harnesses. Drive shafts, mounts, linkages, and hydraulic systems all need attention. When done right, the driving transformation is immense. Torque delivery improves. Throttle modulation becomes more precise, and engine braking enhances driver confidence. In performance settings, it can shave time off laps, especially when compared to older torque converter automatics. But these modifications frequently violate safety regulations. Most automakers crash test each model with a specific drivetrain. Changing it alters load paths, airbag triggers, and crash data. As a result, registration becomes a minefield. Some DMVs refuse to update title records, while others reject inspection certifications outright. Insurance is another hurdle. Many providers will cancel policies if they find out a vehicle's drivetrain no longer matches factory configuration in an accident. This could leave the owner financially exposed even if the conversion played no role in the crash. Then there's emissions. Most swap builds fail to comply with original certification standards, especially if engine management systems aren't updated correctly, without proper documentation. Even passing a visual inspection becomes unlikely. Conversions of this magnitude cost anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 and require months of planning, parts, sourcing, and fabrication. Shops specializing in such work usually operate in niche circles and have long wait lists despite all these barriers. Manual conversions remain popular among die-hard gearheads. Why? Because no paddle, dual clutch, or automatic can replicate the satisfaction of banging through gears on your own terms. Mod number 1. ECU reflash for high-octane fuel when horsepower goes nuclear. The summit of performance tuning lies a simple but profound truth. The fuel you run determines how hard you can push your engine. And when you move beyond pump gas in to the realm of race-grade blends like E85 ethanol or 100-plus octane unleaded, you step into a new world. However, this world is not street legal, and the journey there is neither cheap nor reversible. Racing fuels offer higher octane ratings, greater knock resistance, and better heat absorption. Take E85, for instance. With an octane value near 105 and strong evaporative cooling properties, it allows tuners to increase timing advance, boost levels, and compression ratios without risking detonation, with the right software update essentially rewriting your car's ECU to run exclusively on this high-grade, fuel turbocharged motors can gain 40 to 60% more power. Even naturally aspirated platforms can enjoy substantial gains through higher compression and more aggressive cam tuning. The outcome? Power figures once reserved for supercars suddenly become possible in humble builds. But the transformation comes at a price, both financial and legal. Let's begin with hardware. E85 and other alcohol-based fuels require 30 to 40% more volume than standard gasoline. This necessitates bigger injectors, upgraded pumps, ethanol-safe lines, and reprogrammed fuel delivery tables. Without these changes, engines run lean, resulting in catastrophic failure. Then there's the legality. Any modification that bypasses emissions control systems or uses non-approved fuels for public roadways is considered a federal violation. Race-only disclaimers don't protect you if you're caught. These setups emit pollutants far beyond what's allowed, and no state permits them on daily driven vehicles. Some tuning shops won't touch race fuel reflashes for liability reasons. Others require customers to sign waivers stating the vehicle will never be used on public streets. But even if you keep your car garage queen status, problems arise during inspections, resale, or insurance claims. Still, the power gains are staggering. It's no wonder professional race teams and increasingly weekend warriors lean into these tunes. They're not for subtle upgrades or moderate improvements. They're about rewriting the entire power curve and extracting every ounce of output your block can handle. Done correctly. A race fuel ECU flash feels like cheating physics. Throttle response becomes instant. Power delivery is brutal. And the exhaust note, explosive. But unlike most cheats, this one comes with consequent serious ones, which raises the ultimate question: how much power is too much? If it means giving up your license, your warranty, or your peace of mind. The verdict: rule breakers or innovators. 10 modifications, each capable of transforming how your car performs, how you experience it. Yet all share one thing in common: they break conventions. Some violate laws. Others sidestep insurance policies or technical regulations. But every single one exists for the same reason: because someone decided the factory wasn't good enough. They're not for everyone. These upgrades require knowledge, patience, money, and often a willingness to accept risk. But they also represent something bigger: a refusal to settle. While automakers build for averages, enthusiasts optimize for extremes. Where the industry chases compliance, the community craves control. And where regulators draw lines, tuners redraw maps. Sure, there's a price to be paid. Fines, fails, warranties denied, coverage canceled. But for those who know what it's like to chase the perfect pull, the ideal apex, or that seamless upshift, under full boost, there's no going back. Not all heroes wear capes. Some carry laptops, others wield TIG welders. A few crawl under cars with nothing but a socket wrench and a stubborn dream. But they all share one belief: machines were meant to move, and we were meant to make them faster. A final word of caution: let's be honest, this isn't a guidebook. It's not legal advice. It's a look inside a world most people never see. One where performance is prioritized over paperwork, and where freedom comes with consequences. If you're considering any of these mods, do your homework. Learn the laws in your area. Respect the craft. And most importantly, respect the responsibility that comes with power. That aggressive burble, that mind-bending launch, that corner exit that feels like you're flying. It all comes from bending. The rules, just a little, but safety matters. So does the environment. And so does knowing when enough is enough. You don't need to break every law to feel alive behind the wheel. But sometimes, understanding the line helps you appreciate why. People cross it.